The following interview was conducted with an active duty police officer of the Meridian Police Department. The views and opinions shared in this interview are the officer's own and do not reflect the opinions or views of the department.
It's not attaching bombs to doors. It's using a small amount of precision explosives to defeat the locking mechanism or defeat the hinges so that our team can gain entry. But it allows us not to be at the door when the door is opened, so it can be safer for us. And it also helps maintain surprise for our team, for the suspect. That loud noise can disorient suspects inside.
From defusing bombs in the Air Force to leading SWAT raids as the tactical explosive breacher, meet John Salisbury, the 16-year veteran of Idaho's Meridian Police Department, who traded dog tags for a badge at age 30. In this interview, he reveals how military grit fueled his rise through patrols, undercover ops, and command, while balancing a high-stakes life with family, faith, and a secret passion, penning epic fantasy trilogies that blend magic with real-world heroism. Get ready for raw stories, leadership lessons, and advice that could launch your own career in law enforcement.
All right. Can you introduce yourself for me, please?
My name is John Salisbury. I'm from Boise, Idaho, and I'm a police officer with the Meridian Police Department.
Okay, I don't get to talk to too many active duty police officers, obviously for for specific reasons. So super interested in this. Tell me a little bit about Meridian Police Department. How big is the department?
I'm not sure on our exact sworn numbers because they kind of go up and down with training, but we're a little over 130 at least,
Okay.
If not a little bit more right now active, and then we've got a bunch of non-sworn staff as well.
Okay. How'd you end up there? How'd you get into law enforcement?
That's actually kind of a funny story. So I got out of active duty Air Force in 2008. So I spent some time in the Air Force, just about 11 years. And at the time, my wife and I were wanting to start a family, get pregnant. And I had seen a lot of my buddies raising families and the toll it took on them, raising family, being gone all the time. Because our deployment schedule at the time was pretty high. So we had made a conscious decision to get out of active duty and start a family. Now, at the time, I had something lined up. I was going to do property management. And everything went fine. I got out. I went into that. And I was about 3 months, maybe not even 3 months into that work. And I knew it was not for me. I could not do it. Property management is not how I'm built. And so I quit my job. I quit it. My wife was pregnant at the time. She was on bed rest at the time. So I knew I needed to find something. And it took a little bit of searching. And I remember one day I was sitting on the computer researching jobs. What might be a good fit for me. And I came across a police officer. And I remember asking my wife, I said, "What do you think about me being a cop?" And she looks at me and says, "One uniform to the next, I don't care." And I said, "Okay." And that was it. I applied to be a police officer with several different agencies, ended up getting an offer from Meridian, and I haven't looked back.
How old were you when you got hired on?
I was 30 years old.
Okay, so you're certainly not young at that point. You've got all this military experience. Do you think getting hired on at your age helped you?
Absolutely. I had no law enforcement background, no family in law enforcement. I had no basis of knowledge for that type of work other than the military order of things. So I think having that military background helped me in law enforcement to kind of understand how things work, and then just having the life experience under my belt, I think really prepared me for a law enforcement career.
When you were in the Air Force, you traveled all around the world and you got to experience different cultures. Do you think that helped you?
Absolutely.
In what way?
So I pretty much grew up in this area, in the Boise area. I traveled in my youth, a military brat. But actually joining the military and traveling all around and talking to different people throughout the U.S. And internationally, and just understanding different cultures, how people think about things, how they attack problems from different angles, really gave me perspective on how I operate. And so coming into law enforcement, kind of having that knowledge of how different people look at different things, I think helped give me that perspective. It really helped.
Do you have an opinion about if there should be an age limit prior to getting hired on? I mean, you got hired on at 30. I was hired on when I was 21. Do you think people should have the ability to get hired on with the younger, or do you think that experience kind of helps you later on?
I think experience definitely helps you for sure. I think having a certain age limit, and I know that most of the agencies around here do have a limit. I think it's around 21. I'm not exactly sure, but it's not 18. I know that. And I think having that experience under your belt definitely helps. But I've seen younger troops that are more prepared than some of the older guys too.
Yeah.
But I think having that age limit kind of helps mature people before they get into law enforcement.
So you've been with Meridian PD for how long?
16 years.
Okay, so 16 years. In that time, I know you've seen new recruits come in. Have you seen a change in attitude? Have you seen a change in a new generation's perspective?
Yeah, I think I have. I think overall law enforcement tends to attract a certain type of personality. Mm-hmm. So, generations aside, I think we see a similar type of people come through. But certainly I think, the younger troops have a different way of thinking than maybe some of the older salter guys. Again, I think that's just based on age and life experience and how we grew up. With the younger troops growing up in age of technology, and especially some of the older guys growing up, like I did, as that technology was brewing, right? We were already into our teens and early 20s when that technology was coming out. We've had to sort of learn to adapt to it, where these younger troops can already use it, and to their advantage, I think. There's definitely some differences there, but I think attitude-wise, at least in our department, I feel like we tend to attract a certain type of person, and so most of the officers all tend to generally think the same way or operate the same way.
Yeah, so I obviously one of my first interviews was with Tracy, who's your chief, and I think you guys really pride yourself on getting a specific type of officer. So when I'm traveling around the country doing this channel, I'm interviewing people. Some people go, this new generation, they don't know how to talk to people. They don't understand, hard work ethic and everything else. But then I had talked to other people and they're like, look, the people who come into law enforcement, maybe we don't have as great a pool as we used to, but there's still quality candidates rolling in. So you're seeing that.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. We don't have the large pool that we had. Even when I started, I don't think we have the pool like that anymore. But the people that we are getting are quality people.
Why'd you go into the Air Force?
That's another funny story. I told you I was a military brat. My dad was in the Air Force. So we moved around a lot when I was a kid, but we ended up settling in the Boise area when he got out. I was still in grade school, and so my formative years were spent here. And as I was going through high school, I really didn't have a direction of what I wanted to do. I had some ideas, some vague ideas, business owner, entrepreneur, maybe do something in, business or something similar, but I hadn't taken SATs. I hadn't applied to any colleges. It was the spring of my senior year. I was working for my mom at the time, as doing some assistant work. And I remember she asked me, she said, "What are you gonna do after high school?" Because we're coming up on, a couple months to graduation. And I looked at her and I said, "I don't know." She goes, "Okay. Have you ever thought about going in the military?" And I was like, "No, not really." Not that I was opposed to it. I just hadn't thought about it.
You never thought about it even with your dad?
No. I respected his service, but it just never crossed my mind that I'd join the military. I would be doing other things. And my mom, to her credit, said, "Why don't you go down and talk to the recruiter?" And I said, "Right now?" Because I was on company time. I go, "Right now?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Okay. If I'm getting paid to do it, I'll go do it." So I went and talked to the recruiter. I talked with him, and I came back, and I saw my mom and said, "I'm going to join the Air Force." She goes, "Oh, okay. That sounds great." I went down, I took my ASVABs. I got the results of my test. I sat down with the recruiter again. He said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I don't know, maybe something cool like intelligence. That sounds really cool. Let's do that, intelligence." And he looks at me and he nods. He goes, "Okay, all right." And he's looking through a book because he's not really listening to me. He's like, "Okay, sure." And he opens up his binder. He takes a sheet of paper out and he hands it to me. He goes, "What about this?" And I look at it, and it was the job description for explosive ordnance disposal. And I read through it, and I said, "Yeah, sounds good." He goes, "Okay." I'm like, "Yeah, sounds good." So I went home and I told my mom, "Hey, I'm going to be a bomb tech." And she just looked at me and said, "Okay." And that was it. I graduated high school, took the summer off, and then I joined the Air Force.
Did you have any idea what a bomb tech did?
Other than that job description, no. And it was maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs.
Okay, so this theme is going to follow you throughout your law enforcement career. When you get to a bomb tech, what are you doing with the Air Force?
So after basic, we go through what they call tech school, which is just advanced training that lasts 9 or 10 months. And then our main mission. So explosive ordnance disposal in the military is 4 services wide. So the school is actually run by the Navy on an Air Force base. Each class is made up of all 4 services. And each service has a specific area of ordnance that they specialize in, but everyone goes through the same training. Aside from the Navy, they'll do underwater. No other service will do underwater. And so the Army will specialize in ground ordnance. The Marines similarly, in ground ordnance. The Navy in underwater ordnance, and the Air Force mainly in air ordnance. So missiles, rockets, bombs, things like that. And our main mission, I should say half of our mission, is taking care of any problems with ordnance on the base, whether that's with the jets or the bombers. If there are any problems with that ordnance, it's on us to fix it. The other part of the mission is all improvised explosive devices. So any bomb threats, suspicious packages that come on the base, we're responsible for. And then depending on your AO, on your home station.
What's the AO?
So area of operation. You may be responsible for surrounding jurisdictions outside the military base to assist in suspicious packages or bomb threats, things like that. So,
okay. So did you ever think that was going to follow you to your law enforcement career? Like, for example, you have this specialty. Did you ever think about going to ATF?
So when I decided to become a police officer, and again, it was kind of on a whim, but after I made that decision, like that's the decision, that's what I'm going to do. I thought that maybe I can bring my skills into law enforcement as a civilian bomb tech. So I explored that path, but at the time that wasn't open to me. Whereas in the military, they'll take you and train you on, right, regardless of openings or anything like that. We're in law enforcement on the civilian bomb tech side. There has to be an opening on the team or a team available for you to work on. So that wasn't available to me. And so I just concentrated on doing patrol work when I started, hoping that maybe someday I would be able to, get back in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you start in 2009 with the Meridian PD, you're 30 years old. How is that transition for you? Like, for example, when you start, do you have an FTO?
Yeah.
And for the audience, because I was scolded on this, field training officer. So it's basically somebody that kind of shows you the job and how to do it. Once you get on your own, though, because I'm assuming you guys are on single man patrol.
Yes.
Okay. Once you get on your own, how is that? Are you scared? Are you nervous? I mean, what's your take on that? Especially you're 30 years old, you've got life experience, you've had this, Air Force experience. You're not 21 years old with hardly any experience. So how is it for you?
It was exciting.
Yeah.
I was ready to be out on my own and handling calls. Granted, there was a ton I didn't know. And I leaned on my patrol team and, the other officers there heavily, especially in the beginning, on trying to handle calls. There was a lot I was not good at. And I made a conscious effort to do the things I was not good at so that I could get good at them.
What do you like? What? Give me an example.
Certain investigations that, or I guess certain cases that I had difficulty with, domestics. I had a difficult time investigating those, so I leaned heavily on my team to help me through those investigations. Drug investigations, I had a difficult time wrapping my head around, the world of narcotics. So I leaned heavily on my buddies to help me through it, help me through those investigations. Officer safety even was a challenge for me in the beginning. And so I made a conscious effort to talk to people and look at how other people were handling situations, how they spoke to people, and tried to emulate that so that, maybe someday it would become second nature, and I would get good at it. Tactics were really tough for me. In the military, my job was not booting in doors, right? It was taking care of unexploded ordnance. So the tactics side was lacking for me in the military. And I think coming into law enforcement with that military background, there was almost an unspoken expectation that, well, because he has military experience, he should be good on tactics. And I wasn't. I struggled with it. And so I made a conscious effort to get better at it. And I talked with guys on our tactical teams, and I would watch and talk with other patrol officers that I knew were good tacticians and understood that and, tried to improve and continued to improve.
Where do you think that comes from, though? Because I think there's a lot of cops that go, I know it all, and don't want to learn, and hey, I mean, I've done instructing in front of cops and they're the worst audience ever, right? But for you, when you realize your weaknesses and you go, hey, I'm going to work on this, where do you think that came from?
Probably from my upbringing. Okay. My parents were really positive enforcers. And my dad was is a very honest person, and be the first to admit a mistake, but will be the first to hold you accountable if you're in the wrong. He would make it a point to, go out to somebody that either he wronged or that we wronged, and to make it right. As an example, when I first got my license, I bought my first car, and I remember I was driving my older brother to work one day, and we left the neighborhood, and my car was so old I didn't even have a cup holder, so I had one of those cool cup holders that you put on the window, You know what I'm talking about. And I had a Pepsi can in there. And I just opened the Pepsi can. And I was leaving the neighborhood, taking a left-hand turn. And I could see that the Pepsi was about to spill because I had just opened it and I hadn't taken a drink. So my concentration was on the Pepsi, not on the fence in front of me. And I mowed it down. It was our neighbor's front yard fence. I mowed it down. I was so scared. I ended up just leaving the scene, took my brother to work, and I drove home. And I remember after that, SRO came to the school, and
School resource
officer. He talked with me, and I was sweating bullets, and I just felt so embarrassed, and just absolutely horrible. Well, he could tell too, and he'd already talked with my folks, and he said, you should probably go home. And so I remember I went home, and my mom and my dad were both sitting at the table. And I remember I didn't even want to look at my mom because she was just seething with anger, rightfully so. And my dad just sat there calmly. And we talked through it, and I said all my apologies, and they ended up taking my license so that I couldn't drive. I was grounded from driving, and all this. But I remember through the whole part of it, my dad stayed calm. He was firm, right? Well, after that, he said, "All right, well, let's go down to the neighbors and apologize." And at that point, I was like, no, you cannot make me go down to the neighbor's house and apologize. I already feel so embarrassed. But he was adamant. He's like, no, you need to make it right. We did. We walked down to the neighbor's house and, made it right with him. But I remember that. He was very, gentle, firm, and adamant that you need to make it right. Right? You did something wrong. You need to make it right. Always improve. Always do something better.
So I know Meridian PD, especially talking to Tracy, you guys are pretty progressive department in terms of Jujitsu and defensive tactics and everything else. Have you got involved in that? Because he's like, hey, we've got like 28 black belts and we do all this training and everything else. How has that been for you? Do you participate in that?
Not in my free time, no. We do defensive tactics training regularly at our department, but I don't participate outside that, no. Okay.
How about your firearms training with your department? How often do you guys qualify?
So we qualify once a year,
Okay.
but I probably shoot every other week. I'm on the tactical team now, and so we train every other week. So I end up.
But and we're going to get into this,
Sure.
but you were with the Ada County, attached to the Ada County SWAT team. You were at the tactical team now. Did you always shoot before these teams? Did you always kind of shoot every other week, or is that a result of being on those tactical teams?
It's a result of being on these teams. I shot in my free time, but not as often. Yeah, not as often.
I normally ask you this at the end, but I wanted to ask you specifically having to do with your wife. Your wife is like, one uniform to the other, right? Do you think she knew what she was getting into when she said, yeah, go ahead and be a police officer?
I do believe so. But she also believes in me, and she also knows how I operate, and that there's a certain level of adrenaline that I need to satisfy. But I think it really kind of came down to just her believing in my ability to do anything I set my mind to. And that's how she's been. And it's, she's amazing.
When you deal with these hard cases at work, whether it's children or whatever, what's your philosophy in terms of, do you bring that home and chat with your wife about that? How do you deal with these pressures at work?
So I've swung the pendulum on this. I like to think it's not a pendulum anymore, but when I first started, I'd bring it home. I would talk about, the hard cases that we had, especially ones that would affect me, especially ones involving kids. We had a young daughter at the time, and we would, I'd kind of talk through that, and some of it would get pretty, grotesque and, pretty bad. She's also a nurse though, so she, understands a lot of that, and we kind of have that conversation. But over the years, I stopped sharing that, and I don't know if that was a function of me just telling myself I'm okay. I don't need to talk about it. I don't need to, communicate with, my wife about these things, because that's just something we do at work. But what ended up happening is it started to lessen our communication. And so there's a time several years ago where we finally sat down and had a conversation. We were, going through some stuff, and, finally we came to the realization that I needed to share what was going on at work. And she agreed, like, yes, you do need to share that. And I started doing that again regularly, and I still do it regularly to this day, about what I see, what I experience. I won't go into all the little details all the time, but most of the time, I'll take her through the details of all the nasty stuff that I saw or experienced that day, and we'll talk through that. I feel better for it. She feels better for it. And then we continue on. And I think that all that's done is help grow our relationship and deepen it. And it's made me a better cop, but it's made me a much better husband and a better father.
Why do you think it's made you a better cop, though?
I'm not bottling it in. I'm not saying to myself, I can handle anything, right? It's shown me that relationships are the most important thing in this world. And if I can maintain those healthy relationships, then really there's nothing I can't do. That translates to being a cop. in handling problems that are out of the norm, and involve that problem solving ability that you need. Just by sharing that and bouncing ideas off people.
What sort of programs does your department offer you? Traumatic incident. What does Meridian PD offer for you?
Yeah, just that for any kind of traumatic incident. They offer counseling. They offer other programs, critical incident teams that will come together and debrief an incident, which I think is super important. And they allow anybody that was affected by that to come in and participate in those debriefs. Whether it's just, the case officer or whether it was somebody on perimeter for that call, they bring everybody together and talk and debrief that, and kind of allow everybody to say their piece about it. And I think that helps start that process.
How is your department? I've talked to other guys where it's like, don't talk to anybody, stuff it down, never talk to a counselor, deal with it on yourself. Is it looked favorably? Are you encouraged? Hey, this has happened. Maybe you guys should go and talk with. And do you have any pushback from other officers going, don't talk to anybody? You can, how is that in your department?
Yeah, not that I see. We have a peer support program as well. And it's encouraged throughout the department to, hey, if you're having issues, go talk to somebody. One of the peer support program people use EAP, which is our employee assistance program, to see a counselor or a therapist. Take what you need. Yeah.
Okay. Once you started your career, you had this, you had this idea in the back of your head about the ordnance stuff and the explosives and everything else. Was there ever any other goal that you had when you started off with the PD? Did you ever go, I want to be a homicide detective one day?
It was probably a couple years into my career that I decided, what, I want to be on SWAT. That's where I want to be, because tactics was still that one piece that was so difficult for me. And I wanted to be good at it. I needed to be good at it. It's kind of to that end, I wanted to be on the SWAT team, to help improve that and then afterwards share my knowledge. Yeah.
Tell me how it works here in the Valley. Obviously, you have Boise PD. They have their own SWAT team. But when you got on yours, I think it's fair to say Meridian doesn't have their own SWAT team, right?
At the time.
At the time. So who were you? How did that SWAT team work?
Yeah, so I was part of the Ada Metro SWAT team. So the Ada Metro SWAT team was made up of Ada County Sheriffs, Meridian PD, and Garden City PD. So we were a Metro team that covered everything within Ada County, except for Boise City proper. So everything in unincorporated Ada County, and then all the other cities we were responsible for.
How did that develop? Do you guys have your own SWAT team now?
Yeah. So last November, we started our own tactical team, joint with Garden City. So now we have our own tactical team with Garden City. So we handle Meridian and Garden City.
Was that a result of Meridian growing so fast? You guys just decided, hey, we've got to have our own team.
I think that was part of it. We were getting to that size, and of there was just a lot of things going on in the city, different from the county, and I think ultimately they decided the best answer is to have the Ada Metro team, and then our tactical team, which covers just city jurisdiction. And so far it's worked out really good.
Getting back to your explosive ordnance experience, now it's fair to say that would you be the lead explosive breacher on your team?
Right now I am, yeah.
Okay. Tell me what that is. Why do you need an explosive breacher?
So an explosive breacher is just that, someone who uses explosives to gain entry into a house or gain entry into residence. It's just another tool that we use to open doors. Is probably the easiest way to explain it. There's a myriad of different breaching techniques and tools that we use. Explosives is one of them. It tends to be expeditious and safe method to do that. It's not attaching bombs to doors. It's using a small amount of precision explosives to defeat the locking mechanism or defeat the hinges, so that our team can gain entry. But it allows us not to be at the door when the door is opened, so it can be safer for us. And it also helps maintain surprise for our team, or for the suspect, so that it's, again, safer for us when we make that entry, because that loud noise can disorient suspects inside.
Okay, so I don't want to give away any secrets here. So do you place the charges on the hinges, or are you placing them right on the lock?
There are different charges that would accomplish different methods.
Okay.
I guess is the easiest way to put that. So I can use a charge to just defeat the doorknob, and the door will swing on its hinges. Or I can use a charge to defeat the hinges, and the door will just lay down inside. And the type of charge that we use is going to be dependent on the type of door that we encounter, and then our mission, and then the intelligence we have going into it, and terrain, leading up to it. It's all going to play a part in the chosen breaching method, of what charge that we're going to use.
So maybe this is, dependent on the variables, right? But it seems to me 99%, you put it on the door lock and you blow that, it's going to open almost every door. Is that fair to say, or is that, again, it gets back to the variables?
Yeah. And again, it's, I guess, variable. But, maybe the majority of the doors that we'd encounter in a residential, setting, a charge like that should work. But again, depending on the door construction, is it wood? Is it metal? Is it solid? Is it hollow? Is it foam filled? Is it, kind of metal casing around it? All these affect how that charge works. So we'll select different ones to defeat whatever it is we're coming up against. But yeah.
How loud? Okay, so a flashbang is a diversionary device you throw into a house, and it's pretty loud. How loud is the explosive device when you set it on a door?
They're loud. I don't have a decibel rating.
But I mean, is it as loud as a flashbang?
Yes.
Okay. So it could potentially, like you said, kind of be used as a diversionary device as well. Yeah. Okay. Huh. Okay. So in 2016, you end up testing. Maybe the term testing isn't the same thing. Is it testing? And you end up going to the FBI Metro Task Force. Why do you go there? Why do you want to go there?
I think that was the next, just sort of the next progression of my career. It was moving into the world of plainclothes undercover work, working violent crimes and gangs, and narcotics. And I didn't have a lot of experience with that. And I knew that was sort of the next progression of that. And after moving into that, I found that type of policing is the type of policing I really enjoy.
Why?
It really allows me to use my creative muscles when solving problems, solving cases. Not just your traditional patrol approach, but thinking outside the box on how it is we're going to investigate this gang that just started in the valley, to identify its members, identify what criminal activity that they're doing, so that we can get them off the streets. And just that type of almost asymmetrical police work was just really, really cool.
What kind of cases were you predominantly dealing with over there?
Mainly gangs, mainly dealing with gangs, and narcotics a little bit.
And I think it's fair to say predominantly main goal is to deal with gang members, but also to get guns off the street, right? Yeah. Okay. So around this time, and we're going to get into this at the end of the interview, but around this time you start thinking about, I'm going to write a book.
Yeah.
Why?
So I talked a little bit earlier about how communication in my relationship had really just gotten down to a minimal. Well, that was right around that time. After my wife and I figured all that out, I knew I needed something to help with that process. And I was always interested in writing. I wrote in high school. I did a lot of creative work in high school, drawing, artwork and stuff. And I had stopped doing that almost entirely at this point. I did a little bit through my military career, but I had stopped almost entirely at this point. And so I thought I needed to get back to something creative. And I found writing a very cathartic process, especially my first book. It was a very cathartic process. I was able to write about these characters, and it was almost a release to create these different characters going through trouble and figuring things out, almost in a way that maybe I would never be able to explore, but writing a character out that was doing something horrible to somebody, right? And then how that character rose from that, right? I found that process to be a really good way to center myself. And I've continued to do it to this day, just to keep writing, because it's a very quiet hobby for a very loud life.
Yeah, so what I find fascinating about it is, to me, with a law enforcement background, I'd go, okay, he's going to write about detectives or something like that. So tell me the genre of your books and why that genre.
Yeah, I write kind of cross genre. I write modern fantasy and sci-fi. And I think that comes back to my upbringing, my teen years. I was fascinated by that genre. I was introduced at an early age to, the fantasy genre, Tolkien, R.A. Salvatore, Piers Anthony, and I would devour those books, movies, comic books. I was just enamored with it, and so to me it felt like this is natural. This is what I have to do. I'm going to write in this genre because it's the one I enjoy reading, right? Even though I don't I don't have any experience in it, obviously, but it was the genre that I appreciated, and so that's what I wanted to write in. So yeah, it is a little weird, I suppose, for cop writing and the fantasy sci-fi genres.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the books later on, and specifically about what they're about and everything else. But so 2016, you're with the Metro Task Force. In 2020, you go back to patrol. Is that just a normal
normal rotation?
But is that about when you get promoted to corporal?
About a year later, I get promoted to corporal. So I was in patrol for a year after rotating back from Metro. Promoted to corporal a year later.
Why do you decide at that point to promote?
I felt like it was the best way for me to give back. Honestly, I know that might sound cheesy, but I just felt that there was a lot of things that I felt that I could do to improve things and to promote what I thought was a good culture, a good job, and so I felt like promoting to the next rank was sort of my way of giving back and doing that.
Yeah. At the corporal level with Meridian PD, I'm assuming first line supervisor.
Yeah.
Who are you in charge of?
So the way it works is sergeants will be in charge of whatever team they're assigned to, and right underneath them is the corporal. So it's the corporal's job to be kind of a not a buffer. That's not the right term, but to be kind of a go-between between troops and the sergeant to run the team if the sergeant's gone, to help the sergeant out with admin tasks, to help the troops out with calls and command. It's kind of a go-between.
Once you get to that corporal level, where do you think your leadership skills came from?
Again, I think just that life experience and experience in law enforcement. And about that time when I promoted to corporal, I got really interested in leadership, and what that meant. I read books. I listened to podcasts. I really tried to drill down into, okay, what does leadership mean to me? Like, what is it, and what is it not? And I started to keep a journal. I call it my leadership journal now. And I add into it as I come across things that can help me in this. I started taking a hard look at people that I admired and why I admired them. And so I would write down why it was that I admired this leader, what about him made him a good leader. And then I would find people that were not good leaders, in my opinion. And I would break down, why is this person not a good leader? What are the qualities that are basically taking away or making it so nobody wants to follow him? And so, using that, just kind of able to figure out what is my leadership style going to be. And it's a continual process, but
I always ask this question, but with your commentary there, it seems like a lot of your leadership skills may be learned. How much do you think your leadership skills are innate?
I mean, growing up, I remember my parents always saying, you're a natural leader, but I didn't know what that meant. Mm-hmm. And the more research I do, the more books I read, the more podcasts I listen to, I am firmly of the belief that that leadership is learned. I think there are people that are maybe more predisposed to being a good leader, and it makes that journey easier for them. But I think a good leader takes the time to do that research, to do that growing, to educate themselves on leadership and what that means. That's what makes a good leader, that continual improvement. So whether or not, maybe I had an easier time learning, I think that a good leader is a learned one, is one who's taken the time to really dive in and grow using all the resources at their disposal.
It's interesting because you brought up something that I hadn't heard before, which is the podcast. So in this day and age with social media, do you think it's easier to not only learn to be a good leader, but get yourself a vast more information load to help out? I mean, it's just fascinating because obviously you and I are listening to podcasts all the time and everything else, but for old timers, podcast wasn't around. Do you think that that's going to help younger generations in the future for leadership and whatever, for policing in general?
Absolutely, I do. As far as social media goes, the 3 to 5 second clips, that's not going to make a leader, right? But there's a lot of other content out there, even short form podcasts or video podcasts. I consume a lot of content on YouTube on the topic, and there is so much out there that all you really have to do is dive into it. And yeah, there's a lot of noise out there as well. But I think it'll definitely help, grow the next generation of leaders. I don't think it's the end all be all. I'm very much of the school of thought that you can't just subscribe to one way of thinking. Mm-hmm. You can't just read one book on leadership and be a leader. You need to read all the books on leadership. You can't just listen to one podcast. You have to listen to multiple podcasts because everyone's going to have a different point of view. Everyone's going to have a different way of thinking or attacking a problem. And some stuff is going to be valid. Some stuff isn't. And you need to listen to both of that to understand what it is that makes you tick as a leader.
What's your current assignment?
Current assignment is with street crimes unit. So we're a plainclothes unit. We also have a uniform presence as well. And so we deal with problem houses. We deal with problem people. We help out with investigations with other units that maybe need plainclothes or a covert aspect. We do narcotics work. We do vice occasionally. So we kind of have our fingers in everything.
Maybe hard to pinpoint this, but is there one particular area of crime that affects Meridian PD more than anything?
I'm not up on the statistics for sure. But last time I looked, it was still property crime was the highest, I think, by percentage. Okay. And so that's everything from petty theft to vehicle burglary, the gambit there.
Throughout your career, is there cases that you didn't like to deal with?
Yeah. And the ones that come to mind are the ones that I didn't know how to investigate. And that's why I think they were difficult. Especially later on in my career, I got to a certain point where I thought, I'm I'm pretty competent. I can investigate just about anything on my own, and it's never on my own, right? And so the ones I had difficulty with were the ones that I tried to tackle on my own, and not use the team, because that's what the team is there for. Again, to bounce ideas off of, to help with those investigations. One in particular, I won't go into details of the case, but suffice it to say, there was some information that was probably available on cell phone towers for this case that I didn't get to until much later to try to obtain that information. Had I talked through the case with my team and everything, that probably would have come out early, and I would have been able to jump on that and get that information from the cell phone tower. But because I tried to handle everything on my own, by the time I got to it, that information was gone. They don't keep that information forever. And so that really hampered that case in particular. So I've kind of come to the realization that I don't know what I don't know, and I need to be aware of the things that I don't know. And there are other people that I work with that are very knowledgeable, and I need to lean on them.
I guess my question more had to do with you struggled with cases that you didn't really know how to investigate.
Oh, okay.
But in terms of mentally, were there cases like, for example, I always hear kids are really tough to deal with, or domestics? Is there some specific type of thing?
Sure. I think the cases that I always had difficulty dealing with are juvenile cases. So whether that's like juvenile beyond control, which is a kid not listening to a parent, and there could be any number of things that happen. Is it the parent that's disciplining to the point that it's child abuse? Is it the kid that's not listening and making up stories? Dealing with that dynamic is pretty tough for me.
How about females on the department? Do you find that female officers can do something better than male officers?
That's a good question. I guess nothing particular that's standing out to me. I will say I think sometimes some officers can have a better rapport with people.
How about this? Do you think females have a better communication skills than male? Or it just depends on who it is?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I guess, different, right? Men and women communicate differently.
Sure, 100%.
And I think, sometimes having a female voice is going to be advantageous than having a male voice. But really, I think it just depends on the person they're talking to or the case that it's involved with. Because there's cases vice versa where it's better if a male cop is talking with a suspect, whereas in the next case it's maybe better that a female cop is talking to the suspect, just depending on the circumstances. And I've even found that with going on cases with other male officers where I'm not getting anywhere with a suspect, but my partner talks to him and he gets the world.
Yeah.
Right. So. Besides
the communication issue that you had with your wife in kind of, the middle of your career, how did being a police officer, how did being in law enforcement affect your family?
Not negatively, it's never really been an issue. Like I said, my wife is a nurse. She worked nights for 10 years. I was in the military, was deployed all over the world. So us being a part and on shift work, it's just kind of part and parcel of who we are. We have a 16-year-old daughter, and she's grown up her whole life as me as a police officer. So it's it's never really been out of the norm. So
Yeah. How about community support? Obviously, Meridian, Idaho is much different than Seattle, Washington. How is the overall community support of law enforcement?
really good. Yeah, I've never run into, a normal citizen who hasn't been appreciative, honestly, because we deal with a very small percentage of the population. Right. Even some of the suspects that we deal with have told us, "Hey, I like dealing with you guys." But I think that's just a testament to how we've tried to promote our culture and the people that we hire. Right. It's there's a very specific way that we like to attack problems and and to do things, and I think the community is very appreciative of that.
Can you look back on when you started your law enforcement career till now? Did being in law enforcement affect the way that you see people?
Yes, absolutely. I think it just kind of opened my eyes. So growing up, I was honestly fairly naive. I don't want to use the word sheltered, but after I joined the military, it was a culture shock. And law enforcement even more so than the military. I'd never had really any dealings with any type of criminality prior to that, or dealing with people on that side of the law. And so it's really given me a different perspective just when I'm out and about in the community. The way I see things, I walk into a store, and the things I'm looking at, or the people I'm looking at, the details that I'm paying attention to, it's nothing I would have paid attention to prior to this, for sure.
Okay, let's get into your books. Give me your pitch. What are the books you've written? You've written a trilogy, and then you're working on 2 other books. Your trilogy. What's the theme? What is it all about?
Yeah, so the trilogy is called the Portal and Key Chronicles. It's a modern fantasy. It's got some sci-fi mixed into it, but it follows Eva, who is raised on Earth, and then discovers that she wasn't born there. She discovers an entirely new fantastical realm filled with magic, and uncovers a plot of somebody trying to kill her from that magical realm while she's dealing with other things back home. And so it follows her journey with her companions through this magical realm and back, dealing with the political intrigue that happens in this magical realm and the political intrigue that happens on Earth. She was raised and trained as a mercenary in a covert agency, and fell out of favor with that agency. And so she's dealing with that agency trying to get her. And then she discovers who she really is, who she was really born to be in this magical realm, and ultimately what's important to her in the end.
So you're describing this. I think it's so fascinating. Where do you come up with your ideas? I mean, you're an officer with the Meridian Police Department. Do you ever take some of your ideas, your everyday life, do they ever intertwine with some of the ideas from the books that you're writing?
Well, plot-wise, no.
Right.
I don't know where I come up with some of that stuff. I just accounted to, the myriad of books that I read growing up. I take a bunch of the different ideas that, I've read or thought about and sort of created that plot line. And there's multiple plot lines in the books. But one thing I do is I will draw in maybe certain characters that have certain qualities from people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis. I will draw in places and locations. There's locations here that I've been to or important to me that make their way into the book. There's certainly some tactical and some military, ideas that make its way into the book based on, things I've seen and done. There's a lot of gunfire. There's a lot of magic in these books. They're very fast reads. I almost read like a movie. But one thing I did when I was creating this magical realm is I drew in things from my life that were important to me, or a way I wanted to build this world. So I named the nations of this magical realm on a certain naming convention based off of birth months for myself, my wife, and my daughter. So if you look at a map of this realm I've created, every nation's name, aside from a couple of them, are all amalgamations of birth months. And you can see it if you look into it. Yeah. City names are based off of names of stars in the sky. Astronomy was big for me growing up, especially in high school, and so I wanted to bring that in as well. And so I'll do things like that. I'll bring that in from my everyday life into these books.
Your trilogy, what are the names of the books and where can people find them?
The first book is Blood Bonded. The second book is Realms Apart. And the third book is Convergence Gate. And again, that's all part of the Portal and Key Chronicles. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it just about any bookseller online. You can go to my website and have access to all the books and buy it from your selected retailer if you want. I also have a special edition, which is a hardback, which includes all 3 books in the trilogy and some other special material that's not in the other books. And that's available on my website. So you can go there.
What's your website?
It's JonathanTSalisbury.com.
Okay. What's been the biggest challenge being an author?
Marketing.
Okay.
So writing for me is a hobby. It's, as I said earlier, it's a very cathartic way for me to express ideas and to quiet and center my life. But publishing a book was completely separate of writing it. And after I figured that process out, which I'm still figuring out, there's marketing. And marketing for a book nowadays is a full-time job. I don't have the time and energy at this point in my life to devote to that. Because I would have to take the time and energy out of something else. And right now, everything in my life that I'm doing is important to me, and I don't want to give up on relationships or jobs or anything like that to move into that. But marketing definitely has been the one thing that's been so difficult, because the market is so flooded right now with authors, independently published authors especially, because there's so many avenues for independently published authors to publish their novels. There's just so much out there. Amazon being the largest, book publisher and retailer, getting views, getting sales even of the books is extremely difficult if you're not willing to not only put in time but put in money to market these books, because like anything, right? If we see one ad for something, we may give it a passing glance, but we're probably not going to buy it, right? You need to see it over and over again. Books especially, we need to see more and more of them before we hit that buy button. So doing the marketing, getting reviews, I mean, good luck trying to get somebody to review a book, let alone to review a product you bought, right? Yeah. But to get an actual good book review.
And you were saying that there's different levels of reviews. There's like the professional people, and then just getting people who read your books to just give you a review in general, right?
Yeah, there's editorial reviews, which are few and far between. Like if I could get an editorial review, like that's hitting the jackpot, right? But just trying to get somebody to write out a review on Amazon is tough. And so you have those reviews. On Amazon specifically, they have what's called verified purchases. And so anybody that bought your book or a product from Amazon and then reviews that product, it'll show up as a verified purchase. And so that carries more weight in Amazon's algorithm. And so that'll be more prevalent. And then there's ratings. So you can rate a book, 1 to 5 stars. You can rate and review a book. You could just review a book. You could get an editorial review of book. I mean, there's so much out there, but getting anybody to click the button is tough. Like I said, time, energy, and money. Yeah.
All right, last question for you. If somebody's watching this and they're thinking about going into law enforcement, what advice do you have for them?
Be open to new experiences. Have a command presence. Understand that when you put that uniform on, people look at you as the police department. You are a representative of an organization, and they expect you to solve their problem. So having that confidence and that command presence goes a long way to helping your career out. And so I would tell them to work on their confidence, be physically fit. The more physically fit you are, the easier it is for you mentally to handle situations.
Jonathan, really appreciate the interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.